What's up, everybody? Guy here from Total Geek Live, and today we have another Total Geek Live review about Star Wars: The Last Jedi. But before we get into all the forceness that is, let's acknowledge the rest of the TGL crew. We have Baltimore, Kaiser, and Kylo Ren, who may or may not be Danny. We'll see how this video goes. So,
my grandfather. I brought my grandfather.
Oh, he's very clean. So with this particular review, I think this is going to be probably one of our more interesting ones. We're all over the place in how we feel about this film. This has been very divisive for both critics and fans, and as I said, certainly within our group, there's been all over the place in terms of where this movie is. So it's going to be interesting to see what we all think in terms of this overall film.
Right.
Yep.
I think it might be good to go ahead and give how we feel about it now versus how we feel about it after we talk about this. See if we've changed each other's minds or we've reversed our positions on it. So let's give a quick thumbs up, thumbs down from each of us about how we feel about the film going into our review.
Gotcha.
Yes.
All right. Anna 1, Anna 2, Anna.
I'm the weird one. So, you know.
So there we go. So that's how we're starting off this.
So we got a yay, two so-sos, and a nay. So,
yeah,
we've got some groundwork on this one. So I just kind of a brief synopsis of it. Obviously, takes place right after The Force Awakens. Rey has found Luke. Starkiller Base has destroyed the general public. The last of the Resistance is now trying to escape, much like they did from Yavin and A New Hope to Empire Strikes Back, and there's even hints of that as well. Things aren't good. This is probably the worst the Resistance, the Rebels have ever been at any stage of any of these films.
Right.
Yeah.
For that happy ending in Return of the Jedi, that was basically extremely short-lived from what we've learned, because things are probably even worse now in this new installment series.
Yeah. It's certainly...
There's no yub in this world.
No yub.
Not anymore. They've crushed all the yubs. Special edition started it, and then here we are. Nothing but nubs.
Nub. Yeah.
So before we get into all of what we liked, didn't like, and everything like that, does everyone just want to give like a little general thought about what, just their overall impression was?
Sure. See, the only expectation I had with this film was based on The Force Awakens and how Abrams, for me, Force Awakens seemed a little bit of a copy and paste of A New Hope. It was just a kind of a rendition of A New Hope, some of the same themes and plot lines and stuff. So going into that, I felt that set up expectations to me that, okay, well, we're going to kind of pay homage to that in each film. So I expected to see a lot of Empire Strikes Back in this film. And for me, I didn't feel that.
I think one of the very challenging things about seeing a Star Wars movie is they're always so deeply personal to you. We grew up on, the original trilogy, Hope, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. And those are deeply personal films because we each have our own connection to them. And, the prequels that came out, for the most part, didn't live up to the hype. Mm-hmm. And then we got these next set of trilogies coming. Force Awakens, like Danny, I agree, it was a lot of copy and paste homage to A New Hope, to varying degrees of success, I think. Mm-hmm. And I understand what you're saying, like, oh, well, if they're going to just copy paste New Hope for the next one, it'd be the same thing for the Empire.
Right.
And I do think that there is a bit of that going on. There's some sort of like general things, but then they take a left turn and make it a little bit different. However, that does make missed opportunities like you're talking about, Kaiser. Specifically, not without specifics. There are those elements that you're like, wow, they really could have done da 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
Yet they didn't. So I feel like however you felt about the original films is going to color how you see these films, rightly or wrongly so. I just feel like, like you, Kaiser, the comedy was awful.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
Awful, and out of character, out of what we have seen. Only going by the first movie, because that's our canon.
Mm-hmm.
And for something that takes place moments after, these are new characters basically, or some that are just completely different, and that really kind of leaves a sour taste for me.
Yeah. I think it was very interesting, and as I said, we'll start getting into the main discussion in a second. But we all walked into this film spoiler free, so we had no conceptions about it. I didn't ordinarily. I'll cheat and get a couple plot points here and there just because I'm so nosy and I can't stand it. It's like Christmas Eve for me.
Shame.
I know, but it's just how it's always been. And I don't know if it was a conscious effort or not. I walked into this film completely blind, so I had no expectations, no idea what was coming, and I found that very exciting for myself. So, they certainly did not deliver the film experience that I expected, but that's not to say that I didn't dislike it. Mm-hmm. It's very different and it's very divisive. As we mentioned earlier, and I think, I'm sure some of you guys will probably feel a little bit differently. I think some of just the generalized fan hatred of the film right now, outside of our group, I think it's a little overdramatic. I don't think it's the worst Star Wars film that has ever existed. I think there are other films that can carry that title better, again, within the prequel era. I think it was just not exactly what people were thinking, and I think because of that, because Star Wars is a formula, there's a tonality to an overall Star Wars that you kind of expect, and it breaks the formula in a couple places. Mm-hmm. And they're also bound by a real world issue that we'll discuss later. That's I don't know how they're going to work their way out of this one.
Right.
So the way we're going to do the rest of the review, because there's going to be so many points that each one of us are going to make, we're going to do this as a roundtable discussion. We're going to break it down into 5 areas, with each one of us leading off for a different subject. It'll come down to what we liked, what we didn't like, plot holes and lingering questions, the future of where the next film will go, and then just general things that we found interesting throughout the film. So with that said, we're now going to get into spoiler territory. This is no longer spoiler free. We've put the calories back into it. So,
hey, Grandpa, cover your ears.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, it's so cute. He thinks he can hear.
Oh, he thinks he's sentient. Oh, that's nice. That's so
Are we
cute.
get any Danny rent?
No,
I'm being a lovable jerk right now. It's what I do.
Okay.
Oh, there you are. Hi. Well, a lot of people are going to find it much easier to cosplay as Kylo Ren this film.
Yeah.
They're going to save a fortune on costuming.
They can breathe.
We're going to talk about what we did like about the film. And as I mentioned earlier, I really loved the overall unpredictable nature of the film. I very strongly felt this was a film about failure and the consequences of failing, because all the stuff that has usually worked in a Star Wars film, all the crazy gambits and the Hail Mary saving passes, they didn't work in this film. Right off the bat, when you think the Empire is just, the Resistance is going to give this crushing defeat to the New Order, one errant TIE fighter hits one of their ships and just ruins everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it just sets the tone, because it never gets better, and it gets crazy bad as we go on. And it wasn't just that one instance. Everybody in this film failed in some way. Poe failed, Luke, Finn, uh, Ray, which is another subject we're going to get into, or at least I'm going to get into later. Um, this was as bad as it gets for the rebellion, the resistance, and there's not much left by the end of this film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Some of the things I really liked, I absolutely have to say, I just love the performances of Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher. You know, Mark, I've met Mark a few times. I've been fortunate, and I just absolutely adored him in person, and you know, just I've always loved Luke. For a while, I thought I was a Han guy, but this movie's kind of reinstated me. No, I've always been a Luke guy through and through.
Right.
I'm just curmudgeonly as I've gotten older. I am. I'm grumpy, but I loved Mark Hamill's performance in this. I think his years as a voice actor has really nuanced his acting and given him just layers.
Yeah.
His performance was brilliant in this. Carrie Fisher, she was my first crush, and every time I saw her on screen, it was just big, sad eyes, pouty lips. It was just, and that was tough for me, especially knowing that's her last anything really. I'm grateful that she got to complete this film, but yeah, that one sucks. That she's gone for so many reasons.
Yeah.
There were other neat things. I felt the space and ground battles were exciting as could be. There was so much going on. Lots of cool ooh and ah moments.
Absolutely agree with that.
Just everything was gripping on the edge of your seat. You never knew, like, if anyone was going to make it through. There was that whole sense of, like, oh my God, are they actually going to make it through this? Because, you know, after Han Solo in the last film, all bets are off for me. And especially at the end of this film, again, it's just like, oh my God, guys. I thought the overall plot was exciting. This was like Empire Strikes Back, where that was bad for the rebels back then. Like I said, this is just ramped up for how bad it was. And I thought that was interesting to see it even darker. I just didn't even know that they could do that. I thought it was an interesting turn on Kylo Ren's redemption arc, because it looked like it was going to play for like a scene for scene of Return of the Jedi, and they turned that on its head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, there was, I know in early drafts of Return of the Jedi, they had considered, like, where Luke did the same thing, where he killed the Emperor and took control of the Empire at that point. There were plot suggestions back then, obviously, that was like, no, we can't turn Luke evil. So I felt it was interesting that a lot of this, they subverted standard Star Wars tones in this, and I thought that was really interesting. I did like the hyperspace jump attack. I thought that was unique. I know a lot of people are like lame, but they've never done that before, and people are like, well, why haven't they ever done this before?
Right.
Well, I think there's like, well, I'm sure these ships are expensive and extremely valuable for multiple reasons. You're not just going to go ram multiple ships just for any reason. It has to be kind of a make or break. I feel in their situation it truly was.
Yeah.
There were the two other things that I liked, and then we'll kind of go on. I'm really glad as a longtime fan that they finally gave C-3PO some screen time and some actual conversation involvement with the plot, where he felt like he didn't do all that much, but he's more of a pacifist character anyway, but at least he felt like he was an active part of the narrative and not simply window dressing.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, the prequels and even Force Awakens, he was just kind of in the background. Oh, hey, it's C-3PO, hi, and then that was kind of it. At least he felt like he was involved in the stakes going on.
Right.
And I was glad they finally gave him involvement for a long-time fan. And then, of course, the biggest spoiler was the Yoda cameo.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God, I had no idea that was coming. I, flipped. I couldn't believe it. And, you know, that was one of those things, because a lot of people could see that as fan service, but I think that was also kind of that discussion of failure. You know, Yoda was like, making mistakes and failure are part of being a Jedi, and I think it helped to change Luke's mind for those final moments.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that for sure.
And as I said, it was just amazing seeing him, and he was also a puppet, which I was just like, oh my god, they're the practical effects, that I've so long missed. But that was like my little mind blowing scene, especially when we start getting to the bads. It kind of makes up in some way for what I thought was going to be another obvious cameo that did not happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh my God, what a way! But yeah, we'll get into that later. So, Baltimore, what did you like about this?
Leia. Yeah, Leia.
I thought you were doing the reach out bit.
Yeah, she's going to reach out where she comes back inside.
Oh, I was
yes.
thinking of the Rey reaching out.
Oh no, forget Rey. This is all about Leia. Like we said, we all walked in with no spoilers, but with the understanding that this was Carrie's last film.
Mm-hmm.
And that moment so early on in the film, and you're like, yeah, I believed it.
Yeah, I did too.
I was like, and then when she, oh my God, like, and it also shows just how freaking badass Leia is, and she never chose to be a Jedi. She never chose to, use the Force outside of feeling, in Luke in Empire and and Return. But that moment was just, oh my God, that was the best. I was like, yeah. And then, of course, the Yoda bit was great. It was also unexpected too. So that was really wonderful. And so I think those are my top favorite things that I liked about it. And we talk about how this film really subverts the Star Wars narrative and kind of expectations. And sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes it's a bad thing. But I think, when they talk about, okay, we're expecting, this is as bad as it's going to get for the Rebels. They are dwindling by the moment in this movie. So I like that. Yeah, it is a real back against the wall situation. And you're right. This is a lot about failure. And I think framing it that way, Guy, does make a lot more sense for it. And it does kind of not necessarily justify, but I see it a little more. I understand it a little bit more as these are failures, and failures matter, and they accumulate, and they, have ramifications. And yeah, there are super ramifications for everything that happens.
I will say that the ladies in my theater definitely like shirtless Kylo Ren. There was like 2 or 3, hello. Oh my God. It's like you can just hear all the women get all excited in my theater.
Gosh.
It's funny.
Some of the things that are on my liked list are actually also on my not liked list. Okay. And I think that's what boils down to the whole why my thumb is kind of like this. I loved the scene with Yoda and Luke. I thought it was wonderful. I was excited he was a puppet because I love puppets. And yet I'll talk later on why there's something that I didn't like in it. But I, for the most part, I did enjoy it. I did like Leia using the Force to get back to the spaceship just showing that Skywalker power that is in her bloodline. The space battles were phenomenal. And like Guy said, even the ground battles on that salt planet, the visually, sound wise, everything was so great about it, including when Holdo uses light speed to slice through Snoke's ship and slice it in half. It was a great visual, and then also a good use of no sound.
Yeah.
And then follow it up with sound. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
That's another part too. Very inventive too.
I liked the casino planet. Just seeing it and getting the idea of how the rich are profiting from selling arms to both sides of the war, it reminded me of Jabba the Hutt. So that little bit I liked. The kid at the end of the movie using the Force to grab the broom, and then how he was silhouetted, where it kind of looked like a lightsaber, and he kind of looked like a small Padawan Jedi. I liked the visual with that. The Luke just using the Force to project himself to face Kylo Ren. I thought that was phenomenal. And I was just amazed by that whole thing, because it kind of even fooled me.
Oh yeah.
Finn calling himself Rebel Scum, loved it. And then the nod to the, I wouldn't call it great, but Hardware Wars, where the iron is coming down.
Oh yeah,
and
wow.
It looks like a spaceship at first, but then it's, you see it's an actual iron and all that. But that was a total nod to Hardware Wars. And
is that a confirmed one?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
And of all the people, Patton Oswalt actually tweeted it out, and Ryan Johnson confirmed, going, "Hey, glad you caught that."
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's really
brilliant.
cool. I know, right?
Oh my God. That's awesome.
I know, man. I know. Of course, Guy would appreciate that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what. That's all I had on my list, guys.
All right. That will lead us to the bad now, I think.
Yeah.
First off, his name is Poe, not Star-Lord. We don't need that. It was completely unnecessary. Started the movie off on the wrong freaking foot. It was cringeworthy. It was not in place with Star Wars. Like that kind of tonal humor, that's not.
Yeah, you're talking about the hello.
Yeah.
Hello, is anybody there?
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah.
That was completely just. Oh, why? Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. Okay, and the timeline. I can't with the timeline. Rey went to the planet Ahch-To,
I think it's called.
Wherever Luke is. And she's
Ireland.
Yeah. And she's there for how long? Because
2 days, 3 days?
Right. And then the ship is being followed by the First Order for 6 hours, 8 hours. How is this time working? And they have enough time for Finn and Rose to go to a casino planet and come back. And the timeline was just fakakta. It was does not make sense. And for me, I have to have order and timeline. Otherwise, it drives me crazy like this did.
I agree with you. That felt like Game of Thrones this past season.
And then you have, so this is supposed to take place almost immediately after Force Awakens. How in the world did Hux go from someone being competent and, bloodthirsty to being a ridiculous caricature of a character? And just like that, he's so overplayed. It's like, that's why I'm saying these are not the characters we saw 20 minutes ago.
Right.
Something happened to effing change them. And it doesn't make sense. And I hated that part. I hated that kind of switch. The humor was just so glaringly hard. And then, for me, the complete missed opportunity is going to a casino planet and there's no Lando.
Thank you.
Like,
oh my God.
Why?
Yeah.
Yeah. Aren't the Hutts still around?
Yeah. And then, so first off, their entire storyline could have been cut out. That could have been the Finn edition, for doing X-Men, Days of Future Past, Rogue cut. This could be the Finn cut. because it was completely superfluous. It didn't get them anywhere. It didn't do anything. Just like the Rogue cut. Completely cut them out would have been fine. I like Rose. I thought she was a great, fun character to introduce, and I thought she did a great job. But no lasting impact. And then she didn't even get him to kill himself. I was like, that would have been at least something interesting. And then she bungles that up. You know, there you go, failure again. And then the what the F cameo by Justin Theroux. Meaningless, ridiculous.
It should have been Lando.
Right. And then they end up picking up this DJ character. I'm like, who the cares about him? He doesn't do anything of substance. He betrays them. But there's no reason stated why he wants money and things. That's not really strong enough. You know, and yeah, you see how people are profiting from the Rebels and the Empire. But he's a throwaway character, and he's meant to be something greater in the larger universe. But if we're going by Episode 7, Episode 8, what's the point of him?
Yeah.
And then Captain Phasma is supposed to be some important. She got shafted in the first film, and even in this film, it was very lackluster. I was like, I was disappointed with. They're trapped in a hole, and then they're looking for, and I can't with all the animals. I like them, but I can't with them. It's interesting, but they spend too much time on them, and time that could have been spent on better character development, keeping them in line to their first appearance. You know, they're trapped in there. Like, oh, well, let's go down this cavern we haven't looked at, because where are the little crystal dogs? It's a little like...
Right. To me, sorry, I got to interject with this because it's part of that. BB-8 did a scan. I think he would have scanned that, oh, there's a little rock formation that could easily be moved away, and we could just go out that way. Yeah. When he went and did a scan around.
Right.
So that would have completely nullified the reason to even have those little crystal foxes or whatever. And
then, you know, you have to back up, Rey goes into the ship. Chewie leaves. Rey and Kylo have the fight, Snoke thing, whatever. And then she mysteriously reappears with Chewie in the battle next time. Like, how did she get out of there? How did Chewie get to find her? Why didn't he get captured if he was coming to there? Right. You know, all kind of like, how did she? Where did this?
Right.
And you know, like, yeah. I think that's my list. I'm gonna stop.
Okay.
Yeah.
If he's refusing to do it, that's one thing.
No, he wanted to be an 8.
Like
he wanted to be an 8.
He wanted to be an 8. He was doing a little tweet movement for a while, and he was in an episode of Rebels in season 1.
That makes me want to punch Rian Johnson even more now.
Yeah, he was like Lando for 8 right after Force Awakens came out. He's like, I don't know why it wasn't at 7, but I'd like to be an 8. And then he did an episode of Rebels.
Come on, people.
I love Billy D.
And he was brilliant in that episode of Rebels. I just loved him because he was just as charming and smarmy and
swagger,
scoundrelly as he always was.
And he's got that swagger, man.
Mm-hmm.
He does.
All
right, me?
Go off, Danny.
Oh, man. Okay, so here we go. Going back to some of the things that I liked, but parts that I didn't like with Luke and Yoda. I didn't like Yoda with the line, they're not really page turners with the Jedi books. Yeah, it didn't, I don't know, it didn't, I loved his little giggling and all that great stuff and how he missed Skywalker, all of that was great, but that one little joke didn't really seem like Yoda to me.
My thought about that part is, did Yoda help Rey steal them? And then he was covering for her? Like, don't even look for them? Or how did they get out?
I have thoughts.
You know, so that's not.
Yeah, we'll let Guy handle that.
Yeah.
The casino planet, it to me, plot wise, didn't really make sense. They didn't use Lando like they should have. And yeah, so there we go with that. I don't know why they went to Bug-Eyed Lady for advice. I don't know why that's their first go-to person to figure out where a code breaker is.
They hired her for 3 films. They're going to use her for 3 films.
Yeah, to me, she didn't feel like a fan favorite or whatever, but whatever. And then with the overall humor in the movie, it seemed too infantile for Star Wars. It was totally out of place. Baltimore, you mentioned the "Hello, is anyone there?" gag by Poe. That one. Chrome Dome, when Finn said Chrome Dome. And then the Bug-Eyed Lady, she makes a sex joke.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, that the code breaker is really good at everything. And I mean everything. Hated it. No sex. Don't give me sex jokes in Star Wars, please. The battle between Captain Phasma and Finn was way too short for me. I did not get enough. I would have rather have had, like, throughout the thing, them kind of running into each other or something. She was just underutilized. Is she the Boba Fett of this trilogy?
That's what I felt.
I guess so.
Yeah.
We never learn more about Snoke.
Yeah.
Because he's just Darth Mauled, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And to me, that's lame. I don't understand if he's so powerful to pull Ben Solo away from Luke and turn him. How is he so easily tricked by his apprentice like that? I just don't believe it. And he was so powerful to use. I mean, he just barely flicked lightning, and it was so strong to move Kylo away. I just don't believe that he would be able to let his guard down. And I'm mad that all this mystery and we're not going to know any more about him. It was just the Porgs. I hate Porgs, so we can move on. They're nothing but a sight gag for me. Why didn't Holdo just tell Poe about the evacuation plan? She could have prevented so much chaos from happening if she would have just said, "This is what we're freaking doing." Not enough Chewbacca. I love the scene when he busts down the door and all that.
Yeah.
But since Luke is being so, I don't want to get involved in all that, why didn't Chewie keep coming to him and going, "Look, man, I just lost Han. I'm having a hard time here, and you're like my second best friend, and you're denying me. You're turning yourself away from me. Well, don't we have past together? And, it could have been really, really great."
It could have been like a retread of the Star Wars Holiday Special too, if they weren't careful. Dude, but no one wants that.
Not enough R2-D2. I would have loved by now to see a team up of R2 and BB-8. Mm-hmm. Why has it not happened? Come on, give it to me. Oh, the reveal about Rey's parents, nobodies. We're all this build up, and that's what we're gonna get. I mean, again, I don't trust Kylo, so maybe, like Kaiser said, the red herring thing, maybe. But if it's not, then lame. Luke dying. I as much as I loved Leia using the Force to pull back, I felt, giving everything that's happened and that the fact that she is no longer here on Earth, Carrie Fisher has passed, it's sad. That would have been kind of a beautiful tribute to kind of see her, just float away and let us all have a cry towards the beginning of the film so that we could enjoy the rest of it. I think they killed the wrong Skywalker off in this film. Well, then I would have been okay, rather than Luke go out there to face Kylo, then have Leia go out there and face her boy. Yeah. And have her bite it that way. I kind of wanted her to go out the same way Han did, but because then you would really see that Kylo has turned completely to the dark side. Yeah. But the footnote of Admiral Akbar's death. Oh my God, people. Admiral, if you're not a Star Wars fan, then you need to learn a little bit more about Admiral Akbar and the greatness that is him. And the fact that it was just a one-line throwaway that, and we lost Admiral Akbar and many other greats.
Mm-hmm.
It really, really bugged me. The big ships don't have autopilot?
Yeah.
Do they? Or not?
I would
Holdo, Hordor, whatever her name is, had to stay back behind and pilot the ship because it didn't have autopilot?
Think about it. In the original Star Wars, Chewie was playing chess with R2, and Han came back to see what everyone was doing while they were flying to Alderaan. So, yeah, of course they have autopilot.
Okay. Well, then while he was Holder on board. Okay. Well, then she could have just said that and said, don't worry, I got a plan, guys. Yeah, right. That's it. She doesn't tell anybody.
She died as she lived, stupidly.
Yeah, she doesn't tell a damn thing. Okay, one of these is about, I think it'll go along with the plot stuff, so I'll leave that out for right now. But my last one, no one lost an arm. I mean, yes, Snoke did, but I mean, someone needs to lose an arm and yet still live.
Danny.
What?
Subverting your expectations.
Well,
I know.
I got it in episode 2 and I got it in episode 5 because those are the second movies of a trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want a little bit of consistency here, please. I just want it. If it's going to be part of the Skywalker, 9 movies, somebody should have lost a freaking arm.
Floor.
And where is Strawberry Jam and C-3PO in this movie? He was all gold.
Well, he was all gold at the end of Force Awakens, too.
Was he?
At the end,
Okay.
Oh, dang it.
So,
okay. All right.
And in another movie.
Yeah. It's
the
all
wrong
technically
movie.
the same timeline for these two things anyway, so.
Yeah, that is true. Oh, wait, I do have more. Luke. I'm sorry. Luke milking a sea cow. Gross.
Yeah,
Gross.
That's kind of horrified.
And him tossing the lightsaber over his shoulder. Well, that just felt like a comedy thing.
Yoda did similar in Empire, throwing stuff around,
Okay. All right. And then
why Skywalker?
So on Canto Bight, a parking violation results in jail time?
They're serious.
Got to get him in jail somehow.
Oh, okay. I mean, I would write up a ticket, even if it was also a noise violation or disturbing the peace. That I think I heard them also say. I think that also most municipalities would consider that just a written citation and a fine.
Maybe because BB-8 was impersonating a slot machine.
That's just me.
No, that's some serious gaming laws.
Okay. All right, I'm done. So, Guy, what did you not like?
So, I'm just going to go down the obvious ones. No Lando, blasphemy. As I said, Billy D. Williams wanted to be a part of these movies. He's been in Rebels. I don't see what the problem is. Chewbacca and R2-D2 were basically reduced to window dressing. I didn't agree because you're upset about how people aren't losing limbs. R2-D2 saving the day in some capacity is always a given in a Star Wars film. And I didn't touch on that one.
That's true.
I disagreed with that. Let's get on the subject of useless characters in this. Phasma completes the triad of cool but useless characters. Darth Maul, Boba Fett, and now Captain Phasma, they all look cool. But if you exclude all the expanded universe stuff and just look at how they are in a movie, they look cool, but they do absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
You get someone from Game of Thrones, Gwendolyn Christie, and you waste her? Are you serious?
I know.
Especially as badass as she is as Brienne of Tarth in Game of Thrones, and you don't. I was just like, what just happened? I was so pissed about that. That was crap. Snoke is another useless character. We never got an origin or motivation story why he's doing this. He's basically a third-rate Palpatine. How could he not sense Ren's deception or attempt to activate the lightsaber? And the thing is, I don't want a one-shot or mini-series from Marvel Comics telling me why Snoke is such a badass.
Right.
If you read my other standalone reviews of the films, I do not think that you should expect the general fan base to look for other expanded works to figure out what's going on in your movie.
Yeah.
Expanded works should be just that. They should expand a little bit. I like this character. I want to learn more, not to get crucial plot points. And Matrix is guilty of that.
Happens a lot, unfortunately.
It feels too much like a money grab.
Yeah, Matrix did this. Star Wars has done this a couple times. Because they had a Phasma comic series. So yeah, I mean stuff like that, and DJ, who actually didn't have a name. He didn't have an official name. DJ was just something that was an unofficial name, so he never had a name. Mm-hmm. Again, it's just they never found Codebreaker. They found the mysterious Codebreaker. They never used him. He was a one-off cameo. Another just holy crap. Let's see. Rey. I liked her in the first film. I'm starting to think I don't really like Rey. And it's nothing against Daisy Ridley, because I think she seems really sweet, but she has so much power and control, and Luke barely taught her anything in this film. Anakin, who is supposedly the living embodiment of the Force that was created by the Force itself, needed training. Luke didn't teach her anything. Not really, if you watch that film. And she's like off the charts. So that's going to lead into plot holes questions later, but she's too perfect. Whereas everything was a failure arc for everybody, she never failed anything. She is, people called her like too perfect in Force Awakens, and I found disagreement with that, and like I was like, oh no, well, whatever. I excused that away in Force Awakens. I'm finding it harder to do so in this film. Mm-hmm. Luke dying. For the love of God, please stop killing my childhood heroes, Disney. I was in an outright shock. I think if I'd been alone, I probably would have cried out, oh God, no, stop this. Because I was like, I couldn't believe it. It's just like, as Baltimore pointed out at the beginning of this thing, these characters take on a special meaning to us. We've grown up with them. They're almost, they are our imaginary friends that we've grown up with. And I bet the writers are now like, I wish we really hadn't killed off Han and Luke in light of Carrie's real world death. I have a feeling they're super regretting this now. So I wasn't pleased about that.
That's what I'm about to say.
That's plot holes questions, and that will lead.
Or that's a red herring or whatever.
I think it's going to tie into another thing later. Hyperspace tracking. Now the new First Order can track you through hyperspace, so that eliminates one of the most suspenseful, effective means of surprise and escape within the Star Wars universe. Because that's the point. I mean, you can't do that daring escape into hyperspace because they can follow you 10 minutes later.
And this takes this is supposed to take place just right after Force Awakens.
Right.
So they figured it out in just that little amount of time.
Or maybe they always had it and just never used it. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, I have that same question too, Danny.
Okay.
So I've got two more points. One is a story related. One is a real world issue. I did not like the character of Holdo. I have thought about it and more since I've seen it. And I liked Laura Dern. I thought she was great in Jurassic Park. I've seen her in other films, and I like Laura Dern, the person. I do not like the character of Holdo. Mm-hmm. And in my personal experience, I have met leaders that have worked on the Secrets game because I said so philosophy. All that causes within internally is frustration, mistrust, questioning of competence, and poor decision making. Had she been upfront, especially in a crucial moment where they were losing friends and allies by the hundreds, possibly thousands, had she been upfront, Poe never would have staged a mutiny. There would have been no reason for Finn and Rose to ever go to that casino planet for that side mission.
Mm-hmm.
All three could have been on board, helped with the mission, got things done, and not hindered it. There is a time and place to play power games, but again, not at the cost of thousands of lives. Because of those bad decisions, the pseudo code breaker got wind of what their plans were and sold it to the highest bidder.
Right.
Holdo is directly responsible for all those deaths, because it wasn't like Princess Leia had time to vouch for her because she was injured and taken out. She's like, oh no, I trust her, do what she says, because I see a mother-son relationship between Poe and Leia, and I think if Leia had said to Poe, trust her, I know you might not agree with her, just trust her, I think he would have been okay. But there never was that moment because she was out of commission. So he had no reason to trust her. I'm like, who are you and why are you doing this? I'm not going to tell you. And she's responsible for all the death that happened within the Resistance, because whether it was pride or whatever her reason, I think she was the biggest villain of all in The Last Jedi.
Yeah, I agree with that. To the point, I thought she was a spy. I thought she was part of the First Order.
I'm still not entirely unconvinced that she's not a spy. You know, as someone who's watched Star Wars, I hold her personally responsible for the almost total death of the rebellion. So that's how strongly I feel about that one.
Yeah.
And the only other last thing was, I thought it was beautiful that they added a in loving memory of Carrie Fisher. I wish they had done that for Kenny Baker, who had played R2-D2, and Eric Bauersfeld, who played the voice of Akbar, because they were just as important to the Star Wars lore. And I just, you know, if it had said for like Carrie Kenny and Eric or something like that, I just wish they'd given, like, it's, you know, those characters, supplement additional characters, just a little courtesy.
Totally agree with that.
For all their contributions over 3 to 4 decades worth of work.
Yeah.
So, speaking of the Force, where aren't there midichlorians involved with the Force?
No.
The less said, the better.
No.
There's not.
No.
Let's talk about them.
They righted the ship in this film. Let's you know, it's the tension between everything.
Okay. All right.
I am much better with the explanation of the Force in this film. So
okay.
Midichlorians.
All right, because I'm just confused. It's kind of, to me, that's a plot hole, because they talked about, didn't they talk? They talked about midichlorians in the Phantom Menace trilogy thing.
Yeah, that's where that thing came from.
Okay. But they never talked about it in the original trilogy, right?
Oh God, no, that didn't exist.
Okay, all right. So my biggest concern and plot hole with this, and just the fact that this whole slow chase thing in space was stupid. The First Order had 3 Star Destroyers, I believe, and Snoke's ship.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't they send a couple of the Star Destroyers light speed ahead, just right in front of them, and then turn around and trap them?
Hubris.
Logic.
Hubris.
Logic.
I think it was a game.
We wouldn't have a movie then?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? We would only have like 30-minute film?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all I have then.
Bad guy grandstanding. I think that's basically what that was.
But why? That doesn't seem in character with the First Order. They would just annihilate them however they would, you know.
They just got their planet killing base blown up. I'm sure they're a little cranky or
Right. So you want to end it. So end it as fast as possible, not as slow as possible.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Okay. I'll just do the quick question because I think everyone else leads out. The Knights of Ren, where are they? I've heard about these mythical Knights of Ren.
Yeah,
Where
I know. He took, according to the story about Luke and what happened between him and Ben, he took some of the
Where'd they go?
Jedi
What are they doing?
students with them, and
Well,
I
been like-
assumed
Well,
that
then
they're.
like 4 hours later, where are they?
There was Stimpy.
Yeah, I guess. I guess. Yeah, so sure would like to see those knights. Might be pretty cool, I'd guess.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, and then there was the whole fact that Luke never gave his third lesson to Rey. So I have a feeling he's going to come back as a Force ghost for not just that reason. You know, the whole thing that Rey, Kylo Ren saying that Rey's parents were junkers that basically sold her away for booze. It's another one of his lies. It has to be. This is a Skywalker saga. It is definitive. All these 9 movies are definitively referred to as the Skywalker saga.
Mm-hmm.
Luke is dead. Real world Carrie is dead, so they're going to have to make Leia dead in the next film. Because I refuse to accept, she's just busy somewhere else setting up stuff and you don't see her.
Right.
They're going to have to open with a funeral or have some touching little passing moment of Leia having succumbed to her wounds. Because I think they will time jump for episode 9. You know, where they've got to rebuild the rebellion.
I'd be even okay with her dying of heartache. She just lost her brother. And she's already lost Han.
Yeah, so...
And so that...
is unredeemable, at least at this point, but yeah.
I'd believe that more than Padme's crap, you know. She died live. But yeah, I believe that is a bold-faced lie. I know they want that whole come from nothing, and maybe it could be where the little kid at the end is coming from nothing as well.
Mm-hmm.
I refuse to believe that she is nobody. She has to be a Skywalker, and my original point from our trailer trashing months and months ago still stands. I think Luke's third lesson will be her heritage.
Mm-hmm.
So, as for the books, what happened with that? Did Yoda have any involvement? I don't think Yoda had involvement. I think Rey took them. And I think Yoda appeared after being gone so long. I think Yoda destroyed that tree to, number one, find Luke from finding this out. Because he was the intention of burning it down and getting rid of all of it. But I think Yoda also made that move to absolve Luke the guilt of destroying the past of the Jedi himself.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Luke's already burdened by so much guilt and shame about everything he's done. Destroying the past of the Jedi is yet another thing that he's going to deal with. Yoda knew they were gone. He was just going to spare him that and just said, "Okay, I'll do it for you. Don't worry about it." And so Yoda spared him pain. And that's like even Yoda said, Rey has everything she needs. He knew.
Yep.
So Luke had to learn that his mistakes and failures were part of a Jedi's training, and even Kylo Ren was saying, no, you've got to let go of the Jedi, the Sith, you've got to let go of everything. He certainly could not do it when he saw the Millennium Falcon flying. He could not do it when he saw Luke standing there.
Right.
Kylo Ren is a broken, hot mess. He will never be Darth Vader.
Right.
And that gets into that final battle between Luke and Kylo. Luke warns Ben that if he attacks him, he's always going to be with him, just like his father.
Strike me down in anger, and I'll be with you always.
Yeah. And it was kind of shadowed Obi-Wan's original line from the first film. And he's like, I think he wanted to see if he could go through with it. And, of course, he did. And Luke knew that his Force trick was buying them time, but he was also going to die from this. Luke knew he was going to die, and basically his see you around, kid was not him being sarcastic or glib or doing one of the jokes, which I don't think resonated as well with the rest of you guys. That wasn't a joke. He's basically letting Ben knows that he's screwed up and he's going to pay for his actions, because now Luke can stand by him every step of the way and just say, you are a screw up.
Right.
He's going to haunt him with a vengeance, and he will probably drive Ben insane.
It's crazy. Yep. I absolutely agree with that.
He is going to haunt the living hell out of him at this point. And I think that's... So I think Luke will be a very active part of this next film. He won't be alive.
Mm-hmm.
Kylo Ren brushed his teeth. Luke appears in the mirror. You know you're a screw up, right? Ah! Toothpaste flies everywhere. All right, so let's talk about the future. What about episode 9? Danny.
Right. Well, Guy, you just brought up some great points that I didn't even really concern, or not concern myself with, but comprehend.
Yeah.
That I do like the idea that he's just going to be there, right, questioning Kylo Ren's decisions the whole time. Or you want to do that? You think you really have what it takes, and all this kind of stuff. You think you're, you don't have any torn, or you're not torn between anything anymore. You think you're just completely on the dark side, huh? Huh? You want to be just like grandfather, huh? Huh?
You're not grandfather. You never will be grandfather.
Right. Um, I think it will be interesting to see how Rey. One, how far into the future will Episode 9 be? How, will it be years? Will it be just a month? Will it be 2 minutes? What the timeline will be with that, and see how Rey takes the Jedi teachings, and does she start training other people? How many Jedis will we see? But then again, with the rise of how dark and light rise simultaneously in a way, just as she's training people and all that, I'm sure that's probably when we'll see the Knights of Ren and even more numbers of them, and kind of seeing forces accumulate of both the Jedi and whatever we're calling the Sith now. I guess they're not going to be the Sith, but they'll be something else. Right. It's probably going to be that, because I think Kylo Ren is now to the point where, he told Rey to put the past and all that behind. Of course, he still strives to be like Vader, but I think he's going to be so consumed with himself that he's going to be like, no, I'm even better than the Sith. And I'm not going to call any of you guys Sith. I'm going to be the supreme leader of everything and anything, and better than any Sith Lord will be. And you're all my apprentices, but you're not Sith. You're going to be the Knights of Ren, the Knights of Kylo Ren, and all this grandeur stuff. Yeah, and I think he'll be going crazy for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all I really could think about.
Yeah. I think I kind of covered everything that I've kind of felt. I mean, it's like, again, Han and Luke are dead. What are you going to do with Leia? Sadly, not much. Man, they've got to be messed up over at Lucasfilm right now. They had a couple chances to kill her off in the film, but they didn't. And I understand from a standalone story perspective, it makes sense. But they made and finished this film before she died, and well, you got 2 dead characters you could have used, and a dead actress, unfortunately, and that's not going to be easy to work with or leave you much with. Maybe it is time to bring back Billy D. Williams at this point, because you kind of have somebody.
Yes, give us Lando.
Yeah, and from a tech geek standpoint, I got very curious, because all the remaining survivors of the Resistance got onto the Millennium Falcon, and curiosity compelled, and I looked up some information. So the maximum crew and passenger complement of the Millennium Falcon is a maximum of 16 to 20 people.
Wow.
That's it. That's all that's left. So they're going to need some time.
That may not be true, because they did call out to other for help on the Salt Planet. They just didn't come.
Right.
Yeah.
So there may be more pockets, but of the Resistance that we had been following, there's a handful and plus.
Yeah. There's not much left, and we already know half the crew that's left. But yeah, I mean, as I said, it was kind of weird that they just nobody responded. No one did any last minute saves. It was just that was kind of their Alamo, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And Luke came along and did that last minute save. So I liked Luke's character in this. I felt, even though I was dissatisfied that he died, I felt he served an important purpose in the story.
Yeah.
So that's my thought on that.
Right, well, Baltimore, what about your few ideas of the future?
So I think either they're going to double down and just have her be from nobody, or they're going to, okay, they built in an exit, you know, through Snoke and Ren not being completely honest and trustworthy sources of information. She can't be from just nobody. And, you know, I think, like what we were saying earlier, this has been the Skywalker saga. Yes, we had to finish. And you know what? Kylo Ren is a Skywalker, so this could be his part of it. That could be the way they're shoehorning that part.
Mm-hmm.
But we do know that they have plans for further trilogies, which will not be Skywalker related.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. And I get it. But I think there has to be some sort of connection for Ren to be a part of either Kenobi, which is what I would prefer, somehow related, or somehow a Skywalker. But I feel that's even more of a stretch. So I think that it makes it much more challenging. But I think the future, yeah, they're going to have to deal with the real world consequences of Carrie not being with us anymore. And I think it's going to make Luke a much more central character than they were planning him to be because of this. One of the things that I didn't get to think about earlier is when, after the battle, and Luke's on the planet, and you don't see, because the camera doesn't show you, only shows him from the torso up. I really thought for a moment they were going to pan down and you would actually see that Kylo had cut him.
Mm.
That Kylo had been able to, force, cross the galaxy or whatever.
Mm.
And then the second part of that question becomes, okay, so we accept the posit that energy can't be created or destroyed, it's just moved around.
Mm-hmm.
So if all that force energy from Luke has to go somewhere, and I kind of thought, oh, well, maybe it's in that kid who force grabs the broom at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's in the next, next generation of Jedi. He's not the last Jedi. I thought that might be an interesting way to, spread the loop. Also, you have the timeline issues. They're telling that story that just happened on this planet, wherever the hell it is.
Right.
How do they know this? How do they get this information?
Yeah. Is there the CNN news?
That's just one of those things that the timeline just really
If they put it at the very, very end as opposed to just before the final scene, I think it would have.
Yeah. But as for the future, I think, they're going to do what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's clear. To varying degrees of success, I imagine. But I think that they're going to have to definitively answer the Rey question, because that's not good enough.
No. Or given it that we've been told that this is a Skywalker trilogy.
Yeah.
It
fits any other place, just not in this particular story.
Right.
But, the way they get around that, it's Ben Solo. He's a Skywalker. That does make a saga, whether we like that part of it or not. They're going to have to address that. They're going to have to deal with the Luke Leia thing. They're going to have to figure out, how these random people fit into a story that doesn't quite work. Looking at you, DJ. I'm looking at you, Finn. I'm looking at you, Rose. I love Rose. I thought she was a great character, but ultimately inconsequential to the story. And you need to have people who have direct effect on the happenings.
Yeah.
I think that's it for me. Yeah.
But I think for the final interesting things, I did see a lot, because I've read a ton of Star Wars comics over the years. I did see some stuff. While Disney Star Wars did wipe out the entire expanded universe that came before, they do have the luxury of cherry picking little elements, like Grand Admiral Thrawn's been in Rebels as a recurring villain, and things like that. But a couple of things I thought were kind of interesting that paralleled. The Porgs reminded me of the Hoojibs from the original Star Wars Marvel comics. Those little things that always kind of sat around the shoulders and were always just puttering around in the background. I think that's why they didn't bother me that much. The kid at the end telling the story of Luke Skywalker. There was an anthology series called Star Wars Tales, and in issue 19 there was a mini story called Storyteller, where these alien children were under an oppressive rule They lived a hard life, and they stumbled into a cave where they found a shattered C-3PO who basically told them the Star Wars saga story before he was destroyed. And in the remains, one of the children found Luke's old Skywalker, which set the Jedi cycle anew.
Oh, wow.
And then, like, when I saw Luke at the very end on that crystalline planet, when he was going up against the AT-ATs, I really wish they had paid homage to that first issue of Dark Empire, which was the first Dark Horse comic series that they put out, because basically in that one, the AT-AT was shooting at him, and he was just basically deflecting everything, and then used the Force to just basically crush and topple the AT-AT.
Yep.
That I was like, I wish they had done that, just for my personal.
Something that just popped in my head that I forgot to put on my likes. I loved as much as I hated Luke dying, I loved the visual of the sun setting, and because it harkened back to the scene in A New Hope with Luke standing there seeing the sun rise, and he's about to go on begin this grand adventure of his, and now we get the setting sun. I thought that was I get goosebumps just talking about it.
Snap.
Yep.
It's that tonal sense. I mean, Lucas said something about that in the past, about how this is all supposed to have like a cadence, like a poem, and he said a lot of things. I'll just put it that way. But that is one of the things that I agree with, because even with the flaws of the prequels, and even with some of the issues that people have raised, there is there's a beginning. It's like Episode 1 is the same as Episode 4, which is the same as Episode 7, really plot-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And they all go through the same beats of the small kid who comes from nothing and goes off to have a grand adventure where they find the power within them. And I think just even in small things that they do that, and I think that was just another beautiful visual of he's off on his next journey.
Mm-hmm.
To drive Kylo Ren nuts.
Oh, but then I am. Now I am touching you, because I can do that too.
Luke was kind of snarky and sarcastic in this one. I think he's really going to mess with Kylo Ren. So now that we've all talked about it, are we still feeling the same as we all went in?
To be honest, I feel like I'm leaning more toward. No, I think I'm just still split. Split.
Okay.
My hope is that after we see, my new hope is that after Episode 9 comes out, we'll have a different or a better feeling about 8. Once the story is revealed and told, maybe 8 won't be so distasteful as it is at the moment.
Right. Or maybe if we get some more deleted scenes that explain things better.
There's apparently a lot of deleted scenes.
I would not.
I've heard rumors, and it would make sense. And people were, reacted negatively to Empire Strikes Back when it came out, and so because it was so tonally dark. I mean, the good guys all got their butts kicked in that one too. So, but.
Yeah, but the plot made more sense to me.
Yeah, it did. I don't. They still haven't made one to beat Empire yet, as far as I'm concerned. But
I mean, because in Empire, Luke lost an arm. Luke finds out who his father is. It's
Leia fall in love. Han gets frozen. So it's a bunch of stuff going on with that. Yeah. There was just a lot going on in this film, and it's an awful lot to process.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where we are. I think it's going to be
I think so. I think we need to. Yeah.
It's definitely not a watch it just once. You have to watch it a couple of times to process everything. I missed the Jedi books being in the drawer. Mm-hmm. You guys mentioned it, and I'm like, oh.
It was very blink, you'll miss it type.
Yeah, it was.
I must have blinked.
Yeah.
It's very quick. Again, you blink, you miss.
Yeah, I think I was in Luke mourning at that point. I'm like, why are you doing this to me, Disney?
Oh, so you had
I was all messed up. I'm like,
I'm not crying. You're crying.
stop killing my heroes. Oh my God, that's God. Stop, please.
Yeah, stop, please.
I can't.
Disney, please stop.
I was like, dude, you're gonna make me cry if you blow up C-3PO. Stop this, please. No, I can't. It'll be like that scene from Toy Story 3, and I'll be all jacked up. Oh my God, I can't. Well, I think we have definitely talked about Star Wars: The Last Jedi. So, if you have any of your own thoughts, maybe we help change your mind a little bit about how you felt about it, and certainly if you have your own insights that we missed, certainly, feel free to drop comments, your own thoughts. No, you're wrong. Yes, we totally agree with you. We're up to full discussion. Believe me, we've all been behind the scenes having our own side discussions of this. It certainly one of the most talked about films of 2017. I can see it being that before it's all over. And there's new Star Wars is always interesting. And certainly appreciation to the new cast and then the old cast, and certainly Carrie and Kenny and Eric. So, well, that's it from Total Geek Live, and that's all geek to us. May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you. Go back into hiding now.
Bring it, you're wrong.
Is this okay, me wearing this?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I'll
Can you make a little smiley face on there, like
oh God, I wish I had a sticky note or something.
like a straight up cartoon smiley.
Oh, and I
That
do.
would be brilliant.
I do have him.
Okay.
So when I went to the theater to stand out and let people take pictures of me, I'd ask people like, "Do you want to hold grandfather?" And
Nice.
and both guys and girls loved it. They were like, "That's." Even the guys were like, "Man, that's a good idea. That's kind of cute." Where's Grandpa? Say bye, Grandpa. Do a little dance, Grandpa.
Grandpa dance.
Sure I am. But 900 years you reach. Walk as fast as you will not. Can someone get me a lift?